Good morning, everyone. So it's Monday morning here in the Sardalone, just gone 8 o'clock in the morning, and time for a weather update and tracker update, what's happening. And we're starting, excuse me, right over the back end of the fleet here. In fact, past that, we're looking at Gregor's boat right now. There's Perth in Western Australia. I'll just focus that in. And over here, we've got Gregor's boat. It's about 1,200 miles to the west of Perth or Fremantle, and has been drifting around. If we look closely there, you can see it drifted from the point of the storm up here. It's come around, it's headed back a little bit over to the west again, and it's now, as I said, about 1,200 miles from Fremantle. Just got a message again this morning from Gregor, just confirming that the attempt to go and salvage the boat is on. Cody is working with Gregor, and he's doing this literally to get Gregor his boat back. You know, he's going to give it back to him if they get it. He's interested in the whiskey, and that could happen in the next few weeks. Certainly, the team has arrived in Fremantle now. They've got to source a boat and a few other things. Cody's a salvage guy, and you know, we'll wish them all the best of luck in the world, and we'll follow progress on social media with GGR. And as Gregor said, maybe, you never know, the boat may sail again. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for Gregor and everyone involved. You may have seen a story about Abby Sunderland's boat that was abandoned about 8 years ago over here in the Indian Ocean side of the Pacific, been drifting for 8 years, and popped up just here off Kangaroo Island, which is in South Australia, where Mark Sinclair lives, and it's actually my hometown as well. Popped up just here, so boat was still drifting. It arrived without its keel. It had been in the water for, as I say, over 8 years. The boat didn't sink because it was built with positive flotation. Even with the keel, it was 115% positive buoyancy, so it kept going. So certainly you never know where they might pop up, and it'll be good if Gregor can get his boat back. So anyway, coming back across here now to Tapio, he's quite happy. He's been making good speed in the strong northerly winds. In fact, right now he's still doing nearly 5 knots, 4.8 knots. These are the northerlies. He's had up to 40 knots at different times, and it's backing off a little bit now. He's had to dip down into the zone. He's keeping it on the beam because he wants to head towards Cape Horn, obviously. So he's now technically over the other side of the zone, but the zone was open for him. The weather wasn't as extreme as we thought it may have been, but nonetheless, to stay safe, he is still pushed down into it. So the zone is now open for him, and it's really not affecting performance or anything to do with the race. Here's Cape Horn over here, and you can see he's got a direct line, and he's still, let's just do a quick measure off of this. What's happened there? Well, that's no good. Oh, hang on. Oh, it went into yellow brick, that's why. Okay, so I'll hit that one there. Come on. Nope, wrong one. Sorry about this. Okay, that one there and that one there. So still 2,000 odd miles, 2,100 miles to go. So it's going to take him a while, and I'm not even sure whether he'll make it by the end of January, but he's keen to get there. Doesn't really want to have the Guinness Book of Records world's slowest circumnavigation, but we'll see. Certainly we didn't go for projected weather, so let's have a quick look. Okay, 24 hours from now, it's going to go a little bit lighter on him, but following breeze. Another 24 hours, lightening off. Hopefully that'll give him a chance to go for a swim, get rid of those pesky barnacles again. So he's got a couple of days of light weather, that's the 10th. So one more day good sailing, 2 days of very light winds, extremely light in the middle. So maybe it'll be a possibility. At the moment, he's got 5 to 6 metre seas. Let's just have a look what he's got there. Yeah, it's going to drop back to about 2 metre swells and so on, maybe. So he could get a chance in another couple of days to do that. And going forward a bit more to the 11th, we've got a bit of a blow coming. That's interesting. So we'll watch that and see how it goes. By then, he might be a little bit up here. I'll squeak that through a little bit more. This is going to be interesting. 12th of January, yep, that's going to be, let's see what direction it's heading. 13th, okay, it's starting to get weaker, so I hope you get a move on. So we'll watch that, but Tapio may be in for some fun in about 5 or 6 days or so. Anyway, to be a little bit too far ahead to call, everything can change by then, so we'll worry about that when we get over there. Istvan has been having some interesting times. We've been following the weather. Right now he is he's doing okay. He's making 4.2 knots, but the weather that went over him was forecasting, looked like it was going to be around 30 knots, something like that. But he's telling us he's been having gusts up to 55 knots. Anyway, all's good. It's been coming from a northerly type, northwesterly type quadrant. And he said the temperature's gone up, it's quite mild temperatures, but there was still plenty of wind. So he's had some fast sailing and challenging conditions, but, it's all okay. He's not worried about, he's not reporting anything with his steering issues and so on. So all is well for Istvan at the moment. His weather looking forward, let's just build that up a bit just so we can see what's happening. He's on course right now, 24 hours time. It's going to pick up again. You can see it coming from behind him from the northwest. It's the 8th. So the 9th, it goes again. That system's just back up in. This one's shooting across very fast. He should be up here by then. So he may get another bout of heavy weather that's the 9th in 2 days' time. So let's just, I'm just going to click this back every 3 hours, just see what it looks like. He'll be north of that. So yeah, so he's going to get he'll get into this lot here. He'll be up here somewhere by then. And he'll have some solid westerlies, and he'll just ride them out the side. He'll miss this. He should be up here in the north, so nothing to be concerned about. But some solid sailing for sure, and going through again to the 10th. Back to normal. So we're all told, considering where he wants to go, even by then he'll be up here and he'll ride a little bit out to the west. Things looking reasonable for Istvan. So we'll wrong one. So we'll now come back here to real-time weather, and we'll look at Uku. Uku's had no wind at all for 24 hours. He managed to get in for a swim and clean off the hull again, which he would have been happy with. Now the breeze has come back from the north-northwest. It's showing at the moment that he's only making 1.2 knots, but I think he'll be, that was at 4, that's 5, 6, and that was 3 hours ago, okay? I think you'll find now, when the next one comes up, he'll be up around 3 knots, something like that. This breeze is slowly coming over him, and if we run that through for till tomorrow, yep, you can see he's got headwinds. He'll pay off this way. We'll watch this guy here. So we go forward another day. See what we've got. It's gone. It goes below him. As soon as it goes below, with this clockwise rotation of the low, Uku will get a kick and he'll be on his way again. So so that's good news. He'll be up here somewhere by then, and going through to the 10th. It's coming the other way, northwesterly, so he's still moving, but it's going to be light. He's going to be up here, so not fast progress, but it's looking okay. On the 11th, yeah, he's going to, I'll just swing this back, he's going to come into a region of reasonably light winds again, so it'll slow up. So it's typical for that area. It's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not trade winds. You'll get what comes. So, but no big storms. Everything's going under him. There's another one there as well. So, okay, so let's now go up to the real interesting stuff with Mark and Jean-Luc. This is potentially a game changer happening here. So we'll come back to real time now. So you can see Mark down here in the trade winds going really well. So here's Mark. He's got consistent northeasterly trades. He's actually holding high. He's pointing to windward as high as he can do and making 5.4 knots. He could actually bear away over here somewhere and go faster, but he's pushing the boat and pushing himself to try and stay to the east, as far east on the course as he possibly can. And there's a reason for that, but we'll just see what plays out. So, okay, so just looking at, well, in fact, I can't look at one or the other. I know everyone's interested in both, so we'll look at both at the same time. Jean-Luc, the amazing part here is the trade wind band. About 3-4 days ago, started to move from, it's usually up around 25 degrees up here somewhere. It started to move south with this hole, with this sort of band of trough of no wind, and it slowly came down to meet Jean-Luc. And when he served his time penalty here, he was still in the trade winds. They were lightening off, but he managed to maintain sort of like 5-6 knots in here, 4, 5, 6 knots, depending on what he wanted to do. And then coming out, of course, the no wind area is already established, and he's only really moved about 50 miles in the last day and a half. That's all. He's parked up. And the bad news is this hole is going to be here for the next 3 days. So Jean-Luc effectively is not going to go anywhere for the next 2.5 days or so, and he's going to be parked. So then you look at Mark's situation. Mark has consistent trade winds. He will maintain his average. He's doing 5.4 knots. There is no way he's going to make any less than 5 knots, and that's 120 miles a day. So in the next 3 days, Mark is easily going to maintain 350 miles going up in this direction, which will take out nearly half the distance. If we look at the distance between Mark and Jean-Luc at the moment, it's 680 miles. Let's say Mark does 380 miles in the next 3 days, and Jean-Luc maybe come out here to the east or maybe sit tight, we don't know. He'll be within 300 miles, a couple of days sailing of Jean-Luc, and that makes a whole new race. I can't imagine what's going through Jean-Luc's mind right now. I know what's going through Mark Slatz's mind, but remembering two things here. Mark is pushing his boat hard, so anything can happen to Mark. He's already mentioned a few times that the boat is showing signs of the continuous windward work, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. So let's look at the sea state that he's got. The waves right now, okay, probably swells around 2 metres, and the wind is going to be 20-25 knots, so there's a little breaking wave, little wave there. You know, he's probably got a 2 metre swell or something, which is hills and valleys with maybe a little 1 metre sea. So the boat will be slapping a bit and a bit of spray and so on. But over a period of time, it can work the boat. So Mark knows that. He's got to look after the boat as best he can. And let's see what's happening. So anyway, if I'll trying to think of the best way to show both. Let's go back here. So let's look at what's going to happen with the weather as time goes through. I'll click this every 3 hours. You can clearly see this no wind band that's trapped Jean-Luc. And I now hit that, and I'll just keep punching it through. There goes 3 hours, 3 hours. You won't see any appreciable change in Mark Slatz, and interestingly, you're not seeing any appreciable change in this blocking band of no wind that Jean-Luc's got. So there's over 1 day, so that's 24 hours. We're now moving into, you can see there's still no wind in front of Jean-Luc. There's nowhere for him to go. Mark Slatz is still sailing hard. So we're now up to the 9th. We're coming into the 10th. So we've now got the 10th. So that's 3 days away. Okay, so this is 36 hours away, and Jean-Luc has got nowhere to go for 3 days. So if this forecast holds true, it's going to change the face of the race and really put pressure on both of them. You know, so let's just look at what might Jean-Luc be doing. I've got no idea, but certainly he knows this area very well. He's never been here, I don't believe, so early in the season. Even in the Vendée, they're about 2 weeks or so behind today's date when they're coming up to the finish. They do it in 72 days. They start mid-November, so they don't finish until December, late January sort of thing. But they come a lot faster, so they're here later. And Jean-Luc usually knows that what you do is you head out here in the middle, and you come out here in the middle and you hook up into a pressure system, and you slide around the back with following winds and then come into Le Sable d'Olonne over here. But it's early, and for a while I was thinking he might try and get through to the east, but there's no advantage to that. And he may be deciding to sit tight and hope that when it gets to like it is showing on this map now in about 10 days' time, not 10 days' time, on the 10th, you'll see there's a slight possibility that he could possibly come across on some of this stuff, get across very slowly if he keeps working on it over the next few days, and hook into this stuff, which may change shape. And then when we get there, you can see, depending on where the centre of this system is, if the centre of that is over here, for instance, this system's coming up around, and he may do the traditional route. So I've really got no idea, but I will say my personal opinion, if we come back to real-time weather today, I'm certain Jean-Luc knew that there was no wind here, but he consciously decided, if we look at his track, he consciously decided to actually go north instead of, I thought he might have tacked off here and kept tacking back and forwards and making his way over to the east. Why wouldn't he do that? I've got no idea. I'm really confident he knew there was no wind here, and he's decided to come here and hold. And so you may see him just hang around and waiting. And then the interesting thing is, what will Mark Slats do? You know, he can power to windward. He's got the taller mast, or the standard mast, and Jean-Luc's got the short mast. He's definitely holding east at the moment, and maybe he's keeping his options open to see what the weather is going to do when he gets a bit higher, and maybe come in around this way, because if you do and the weather holds, you can see here, it swings around. You get this offshore system, and if you hook into this, you can rocket up on a reach. Or, as I say, keep his options open, and when he gets to about this position, he can decide to go and cover Jean-Luc and try and catch up and get into the same weather system as Jean-Luc. If he does that, because his mast is okay and Jean-Luc's got a damaged mast, he's got a good chance of beating him boat for boat anyway. And all this will start to happen in about 2 days' time. You know, you'll see, you know, Mark will make a decision on what he wants to do, and Jean-Luc will have decided either to come over here or whatever. But I have to say, right now, things are looking good for Mark Slats, and incredibly frustrating for Jean-Luc. So watch this space. The race is really on. It's a huge adventure, and you know, everyone that finishes is a winner, and all those things. But certainly getting quite interesting right now. Thanks a lot. That's about all, and we'll see you again later on.